Kon Apostolopoulos, the founder and CEO of Fresh Biz Solutions LLC, a human capital management consulting group that provides performance improvement and training solutions to help organizations develop their people, improve business results, and reap the benefits of comprehensive talent management strategy. He's also co-author of a ridiculously timely book entitled Seven Keys to Navigating a Crisis, a practical guide for emotionally dealing with pandemics and other disasters. And he's a regular contributor to Thrive Global and Achievers Engagement blog. Kon, you and I are recent friends, just touching base on a whole bunch of things. Give me the 10, 15 seconds on the book. Who's your co-author and what's the book about?
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, Dave. My co-author is Dr. Ilya Grigoris. First of all, a good friend of mine and a writing partner of mine. And we have collaborated on this book, and we actually wrote it in 45 days. From the time the lockdown started, we got it out beginning of May because we felt it was our opportunity to help others cope with this, and drawing from our experiences from the past and where we have a background in this area in change and positive psychology. And it was our effort to help them, to help people with this.
Thank you. Not I've talked to a lot of people. I just released episode 60 of this program this morning, and not many of the guests that I've talked to, not many of the interviews I've done, have gone into detail on the emotional side of COVID-19 and the emotional side of working from home. Why do you suppose those folks are avoiding emotion when talking about this?
Well, the easy answer would be most of us aren't comfortable with dealing with our.
and right, especially if you're guys like you and
Right.
me, it's like, well, everything's fine,
Yeah,
no
it's not the
problem.
guy thing to do. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a sign of weakness. But surprisingly enough, in the first few months now since the pandemic came out, we have seen an increase of about 800% in reports of mental health issues. 800%. Just think about that, eightfold. And these are new cases. These are not people with chronic problems and things like that. These are people that have had reports now due to pandemic, the anxiety, the stress that goes with all of these things.
Mhm.
So we felt that, there is plenty of stuff out there right now that is dealing with a lot of the statistics, a lot of the health issues from a medical standpoint, a lot of other areas. The one area that wasn't talked about nearly enough was the area about dealing with things emotionally, and not just in general, but in very, very practical terms. In give me some soup and nuts stuff that I can do. What
Yeah.
can I change now to help me for tomorrow?
Can you give me, well, give me, that sounds so gratuitously about me. Can you give the people who are watching this program, can you give us like one or two tips for coping?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the things that we explore in the concepts of the book is first and foremost, we have to differentiate between danger and fear. Danger is very real. Danger is something that we need to address. The fear that we have is our response to our perceived danger and everything else. So separating that reality from the emotional response is very, very key for people to do that. And a lot of times what we see four typical responses to this kind of change that's compounded upon us. Sometimes people react as a victim. They look at it and say, oh, why did this happen to me? It ruined my vacation, it ruined my work, it ruined my plans, everything else. And we start complaining about the impact that it has on us, our whole world, about us. Then the second response we typically see is that of a critic. And the critic looks at things and nothing makes sense. They look at it and says, oh, this isn't never going to work. Wear a mask. Oh, that's stupid. Well, don't wear a mask. Are you trying to kill me? So every time it's a response in the negative, nothing about productively what we can do. The third response is a little bit more passive that we see, and that we call the bystander response, the bystander mode. And it's people that are generally just sitting on the sidelines, paralyzed by their fear and looking at it and going, you know what, I think I'm going to let Dave handle this one. Let's see how that works.
Let's
If
sit
Dave
this one
survives
out.
that, and we'll go
That's a
with that.
good plan. Anyway.
Then the fourth response, which we believe is the most productive one, is the role of a navigator. And a navigator isn't somebody that just sees rainbows and sunshine. It's not somebody that just has a false sense of positivity about it, but it's somebody that recognizes the real danger
Mhm.
and overcomes their fear in such a way that they're looking at saying, okay, what have I dealt with in my past? How can I address this now? What can I pull from? What can I draw from to get into a better place. And they follow certain steps. And essentially, what the book does, it outlines 7 keys or 7 steps, if you will, to help people get to that other side, to build the resilience that they need in a way that's hopeful, optimistic,
Yeah,
if that helps.
and at the end of the day, that's one of the things you do have control
Mhm.
over are you optimistic? Can you be optimistic? Can you find the silver linings?
Yeah. And our attitude towards this makes all the difference in the world.
Hmm.
I mean, there are times when of great upheaval where a shakeup equals a wake up call for
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
And in many ways, there are people that have gone through this pandemic, especially in the first 30, 40 days,
Hmm.
maybe a little bit more, where people all of a sudden, once they got out of their old routine, they started realizing, hey, I like spending time with my kids.
Hmm.
There are things I've never been healthier.
Right.
But then because we're capable of the best and the worst, there are also so many cases of people that are struggling on the other side that are putting on the proverbial COVID 15 pounds
I know.
or escaping to drugs, to food, to
Sure.
alcohol, to other areas
Or
in order
or
to.
or worse. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have those signs where
Hmm.
this is an opportunity for us to kind of either tap into the best of us
Hmm.
or allow the worst of us to take over.
And my last question to you, Con, is a question I ask everybody. What lessons have we learned or are we learning right now that we must never forget?
Well, to me, it's about embracing the possibilities. In Greece, where I'm from, we say there's nothing more permanent than the temporary. And we look at each situation in the moment, in the present, in the now. When we look backwards, we really just get fooled with frustration and grief sometimes from what we've lost. We look to the future that's unknown right now, and we
Hmm.
get anxious and stressed.
Hmm.
If we live in the moment and allow this time for us to shape what it is that we want,
Hmm.
what it is that we want to take forward, because it's a great opportunity, a
Hmm.
great excuse for us to let go of those bad
Right.
things.
Right.
So embrace the possibilities of a better future right now.
Hmm.
That will keep us focused on the positives.
Con, it's cool to be your new friend. Thanks for giving me some good news, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.